What's going on, folks? Lucas W1BTR here. Today we're taking a look at the Radioddity GA-510. It's one of my favorite radios, one of my favorite budget radios. I think it's a great value for what you get. Today we're going to take a look at its features, why I like it, what I don't like about it, and whether you should get it. Alright, so hopping right into this radio. It's sold by Radioddity as the GA-510, but is actually manufactured by Baofeng. You can recognize this, you might have already recognized the body of this as a Baofeng design. In fact, here is the Baofeng DR1801 UV. This is a dual band DMR radio. See any similarities? I certainly do. Same basic design, same battery, everything about it is the same, including to a certain point, even the UI. Now, going back to the GA-510, this is a 10-watt radio. Like I said, it actually does output near 10 watts. I believe it's around 9 watts out on its high setting, about 5.5 on the medium setting, and then I think around 3 watts out on the low setting. It's got a great battery life as well. You can see the battery here compared to like the Quancheng EVK5 here. I've got a Baofeng in the background here with the extended battery pack, and I find that performs about the same as the Radioddity GA-510. And it has your standard SMA connection for the antenna. I've got this little BNC adapter on here that I use for daily driving because I find BNC to be a much easier thing to work with, and it also takes the strain off of the connection on there, because that's one of the few flaws I have with this radio. The GA-510, this little connector in here, you see that washer right here? That washer likes to come loose all the time, and when that happens, your antenna wiggles. Even though it's making a solid connection, it wiggles, and actually the connection itself can start to disconnect as you're using it too, which, as you can imagine, is not something that you want while you're on the air. You don't want to have the antenna suddenly disconnect while you're transmitting an actual legitimate almost 10 watts out of your radio. But if you get something like this, or as long as you just tighten it once in a while and screw in your antenna really tight, you're not going to have an issue. It's just going from my UV5R. When I first got this radio as my second VHF-UHF radio, I definitely found that to be somewhat frustrating because I didn't want to over-tighten it, which is still possible. It does take the standard Kenwood jack for its interface for the microphone and for digital modes. It does work with the AIOC cable, which we do sell which I do sell on the website w1btr.com. Be sure to check those out. This is the last programming cable you'll ever need, and it works for digital modes like a DigiRig or optionally like a Signal Link, either one. Back to this radio though. Like I said, battery's pretty good. Slides out just like that, which makes it easy. The clip is there. Here is the model number for that battery if you should need it. It's the DM8. It is a let's see, it's a 7.4 watt, 2200 milliamp hour battery. And it is compatible with the batteries for the Baofeng. Look at that, it says Radioddity on it. Let's talk about the interface here. It's got a wide pixel screen here. It's black and white with a nice soft white backlight on there, which I like much more than the standard Baofeng kind of blue on the gray background. It makes it stand out a lot better. It works great in the bright sunlight as well. It has kind of a paper finish to it. And it's got a lot of room for characters, about I think 4 or 5 more characters than the AV5R, which means you can do stuff like, for instance, what I do is for any repeater that has Skywarn on it, I put a little hashtag on there. And I'll do stuff like explanation points if a transmit is enabled for a frequency I don't have license for or something, like for police scanners or something like that, although normally I just leave it set so that the offset is down to VHF ham range. Let's go into the menu here. Pretty standard menu. Some of the options are a bit out of order as far as I'm concerned, but it does work. You can change a bunch of different settings in here. There's still some, Chinesium oddity, like the bandwidth, instead of wide and narrow, it's width and narrow. So that's interesting. And for reference here, because I know it varies from radio to radio, wide is the one, or sorry, width is the one that you want if you're doing ham stuff, and then narrow is the one for commercial band work, which compares to the Yaesu VX5, where narrow is what you want for ham, because wide would be for the radio broadcast. It does have radio broadcast as well. No fancy features like AM or anything like that, but it does have it. It does not have a flashlight, you'll notice. Let's turn this back off. No flashlight, but it does have this little button here. Instead changes the power from low, medium, and high in the corner there, which is nice. I like being able to change that in the fly without having to mess with menu buttons down here. The buttons themselves are great. Going over to this again for my UV K5, the Quancheng, I missed this interface, I have to say. You press a button, it does what you want, and it's very responsive. The voice I usually leave off, but the sounds are satisfying. It's got some clear stuff over here. You can see you got CTCSS on. We've got Roger Beep on. It's on a negative duplex there. The battery lasts, like I said, forever. I can leave this thing running for 3 days and it'll still have at least half battery. It's also got a little button up here that lets you program it to do something, but if you press and hold, it sets off the alarm, which it will transmit either site or local on the frequency, or just making sound here. That all depends on how you want to have it set. It does support dual standby. You can have a TX timeout, the CTCSS and DCS. And let's see if I can find it in here. Does have PTTID support as well through Chirp. There it is. So this is one of those things where I wish it was closer to the CTCSS programming section, but it does let you scan CTCSS. So if we go here, press menu, I think we have to be in simplex is the issue. So let's go over to 146520, and there we go. And you can see it's scanning through them. And once it finds one, it will stay there, and you can see what CTCSS tone a certain frequency is using. Really great for listening over to walkie-talkies or something like that, or finding the input for a repeater. Now, compared to the Quancheng UV-K5, it's a lot slower. It goes through the whole thing in about, I don't know, 15 seconds, whereas the UV-K5, I'd say you can probably get the CTCSS tone in maybe 2 seconds. So if you're using it for the frequency counter and the scanner, I mean, this one doesn't have a frequency counter, this does. I would go with this, but the receiver, though, let's talk about that, because that's one thing I did not like about the UV-K5, was that the receiver was rather poor. On this radio, the receiver is great. It compares to my VX5 here, actually. It compares to my radio up there, which is a Anytone 778 UV. It's way better than the Baofeng, way better than the Quancheng. I was very surprised by the receiver. As far as transmit and harmonics, it's a pretty clean radio. It's within the FCC limits, which again is refreshing for a Baofeng. This one's been out for a while, before they kind of went through their list of radios and started redesigning them. And it's compliant, works well. It doesn't create a bunch of spurious emissions. I mean, sure, it's going to be about double of what this Yaesu is, because this is a radio on a chip. If you want something that's not spurious at all, you're going to need to do a more dedicated radio chip. But for this right here, considering that it's a fairly affordable radio, it's not bad. It has pretty good filtering on the transmit. So that's it for my initial thoughts, but let's talk about the just list of features this radio has. It does have a transmit range of 144 to 148 megahertz VHF and 420 to 450 megahertz UHF. As far as receive, it will go from 136 to 174 megahertz VHF and 400 to 480 for receive, respectively, for UHF. It has 128 channels, a little bit low for this price, other radios in this price range, but still nothing to shrug off. Should get you by just fine. It's got the 3 modes of scanning, which is standard with these radios. It's got Vox, it's got voice prompt, it has power saving options, which don't really do anything, just like all the other ones in this price range. Like I mentioned, it has the CTCSS scanning, and it also does support a few other things, like it does support, what's it called, tone burst. It does support tone burst. It does support, you might have noticed, uppercase and lowercase letters in the channel frequency, the channel name, which is just nice. It gives you more flexibility as far as what you're going to punch in. Makes it a little bit more friendly to read. I don't think there's anything else particularly special about this radio, but let's talk about the price. Right now, the one radio, and it comes with usually 2 batteries, which is really nice, is $64.99. At that price range, you know, you're really, there's some other options out there, but I do think that this one is a good contender. Like I said, it's just got a good receiver, it's got a fairly clean transmit, and I've just used this one for about a year, and it's still one of my go-to radios because it just stands by me. You know, it doesn't really have any issues. It's very reliable. It's very good sound. Let's give it a listen here too.
Running major and poor drainage and urban areas. More round-tip showers and thunderstorms are expected later this morning into the afternoon and evening. Any thunderstorms have the potential to produce rainfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour, which will elevate. Wind variable at 6. At Manchester, partly sunny, temperature 75, wind southeast at 5. And in Nashua, partly sunny, temperature 73, wind calm.
But let's try out on the WB1GOF repeater here. W1BTR, just doing a quick video. Anybody on for a quick audio check on this radio?
WB1GOF repeater set PL274.4.
Well, someone keyed up for a moment there. I can hear someone else talking out there, but you're right in the edge of the repeater. I can't quite get you through the static. Could you try again? Gotcha, KC1HSZ. Thank you so much. This is W1BTR. Not the most conclusive test for the receive on here because he was on the edge of the repeater, but you can hear the repeater's full quieting in here and stuff. The receiver's great, and that's one that this...
W1BTR, KB1OIQ.
There's Andy. KB1OIQ, W1BTR. Hey Andy, how do I sound on this?
I think you sound just fine, Lucas.
Fantastic. It's one of my favorite radios. It's the Radioddity GA-510. I'm just doing a quick video on it. Figured I'd show off the speaker on it.
Oh, it sounds really great. Hey, FYI, you left a towel in the go-to station. I have it. I've washed it. It's ready for you.
Oh yeah, hopefully it was able to save the equipment from the rain. Did everything survive okay?
Oh yeah, everything survived just fine. So I'm anticipating the next time we see each other could very well be at the next park meeting. I'd be happy to bring it.
All right, sounds great. I look forward to it, Andy.
I figured I'd let you know in case you were looking for it, didn't know where it went.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I completely forgot it existed, but I'll be happy to have it back in the car. I'd hate to have needed it sometime soon and realize it wasn't there.
Ah, very good. Hey, so I'm curious, have you been playing around in the 13 Colonies special event?
I have not. I don't have an antenna set up yet. I've got the 20 and 40 meter J-pole from Bob here that I got to set up. I haven't had a chance to do that with the rain. And then I've got the 40 meter end fed I normally use is still over, I think, with your setup there. I don't know if George took it back from you or anything. But I have been meaning to get the 17 meter antenna you threw over to me up as well. But again, because of the weather, I'll be doing that and the J-pole at the same time to mess around with them.
Well, that sounds good. You're going to have a nice setup there once you get those all up. And yeah, the rain has been a bit of a problem. But I was on today. I'm one of the many stations representing Massachusetts in that event, and the weather, the storm front was coming through, so I had a lot of signals that were down in the noise that I had to try to pull out of there. But you know, hey, you never know what you're going to get.
All right, so sadly no one else was on there to give us a quick audio test from the computer, but that's all right. You get the idea on this radio. I'm a big fan of it. I like that Radioddity went nice with this one, and they didn't put anything crazy in, but they also didn't cheap out on the good features like some good filtering and a good receiver and a decent speaker, and the display is nice. It's all just, it's a good in-between. I think this is a great upgrade path from a Baofeng, well, a cheap Baofeng, since this is technically still Baofeng guts inside. It's a nice looking radio, it's got a good feel to it, it's durable, it's got good power output, it's got good receive, it's got good functionality with chirp and all that. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on this radio if you've tried it out. If you have your own experience with this radio and it differs mine, or if it's the same as mine, give me a comment below. Make sure if you like the video to like and subscribe. Keep an eye out for future radios and all that. And if there's any other radios that you'd like for me to review and take a look at, feel free to throw that down in the comments below too. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great one.